A message coming out of FR to the agents is you need to train that client and teach them and give them the knowledge that they need to know to enter the real estate market.
Welcome to this month's edition of Keller Williams Real Estate Market Update. My name is Gabi Brennesholtz, KW Maps coach and your new co-host. Today I'm joined by
Nick Waltman, Keller Williams Chief Accounting Officer. Thanks so much for having me, Gabi.
Thank you very much for being here today, Nick. Unfortunately, our regular co-host Ruben has fallen ill, and you may have noticed he wasn't at the vision speech today either.
I did. We missed Ruben today, but luckily, he is the man behind the research of all the data that Gary and Jason and Jay talked us through today. So really excited to kind of recap it here.
Yep, he will be joining us again next month, the man of the math. And today we're excited to dive into the numbers that Gary, Jason, and Jay shared on stage.
Let's do it.
Let's dive. Let's talk about the home sales and where we're headed.
What's fascinating about this is it's not getting progressively better right now. And what's interesting is that people keep expecting it to get progressively better. But here's the thing. If you go back and you look at history, you'll know, and that's why we give you this trend line, is for you to understand that when you get into a trough like this, it typically takes 3 to 4 years to get out of it. So if you were hoping we were kind of going to come on stage today and go, it's over, it's all back, the easy deals are back, that's not true. And my guess is we have at least 2 more years this year and next year. That's just a guess. If it's sooner, woohoo, not sure that it will be. This is not just any low. Even in 2008, that 4.1 is rounded. Where you have been in the last 2 years is the lowest in recorded record since 1995. Dudes, that's 30 years. We talk about this all the time, and that is there is a bottom and it's not zero. For the modern era, you're there.
The good news is that real estate comes in cycles, and this trend of moving upward means that those who maintain that eye of the tiger attitude and really focus on finding the motivated are going to find them.
Absolutely. I think those that stick with the models and systems are the ones out there doing business.
Yeah.
Right?
And one of the great things about real estate is that it's an appreciating asset over time. And what we saw when Gary, Jason, and Jay shared the 4% appreciation trend line.
So there's this thing called the 4% trend line. It's not science. We didn't make it up.
We didn't.
It is the expected appreciation rate of real estate over time. The very fact that things go up on a regular basis means that all the pieces that go into a house are going to cost more money, which means it's going to be more expensive. That's projected to be about 4%. So where are we today? Well, we're 9.9% above the trend line. That's not that bad, by the way. Think of it this way. If you had no appreciation for 2.5 years, you'd be at the trend line. That rarely ever happens. In fact, when you look at it, it never happens, except it went backwards in the Great Recession. Okay, so that's probably not going to happen. If it went by 2%, it only grew by 2% for the next few years. In 5 years, you'd be at the trend line.
Right. Yes. And that matters to us because that means homes are trending towards affordability, right? I mean, between the mortgage rates and just the actual price of it, we're getting to a place where people can afford to buy them.
Jay had an amazing quote from stage today, and he said,
"Don't wait for the right time to buy real estate and give it time."
And I thought that was spot on because, like you said, it will appreciate over time. And I think a message coming out of FR to the agents is you need to understand how to train that client and teach them and give them the knowledge that they need to know and kind of get them over that hump of wanting to enter the real estate market.
And on that note, let's dive into the interest rates and what Gary and Jason talked about, because those two are not really going to aggressively go up and down this year. In fact, we're anticipating that, dare I say, they're going to remain pretty flat year over year. There are going to be some economic risks that could have slight adjustments at play for those interest rates, yet we're sitting at about 6.5%, and that has been a historical average for purchasers. Just by knowing that as a real estate professional gives a lot of options for those who may have a specific need as an investor or purchaser. That 6.5% doesn't have to be the one that we marry. I thought that was a very powerful example Gary shared from stage, this percentage of 32, right? So what that basically means is if somebody were to make $100 a month, that 32% of that $100, or in other words, $32, would go towards their mortgage and their interest.
That's right.
So what we used to see, and this is something that Gary used to educate his clients to when he was in real estate, was closer to 40%. Yet he's by no means saying that we shouldn't be purchasing now. He's saying the best time to purchase is now, so that you're forcing yourself into a savings rate called your mortgage, and down the road have less of that pain. It might be a little painful now because of the savings challenge we have in general, as you know, in America. And the best time to create the discipline and focus is now.
That's right. And Jason had a funny but spot on question to the crowd today, and he said,
everyone in the room, think back 15 years. Raise your hand if you wish you would have bought every house in your entire community. Anybody? Perfect.
Hands went up.
Every hand was up, right?
Right?
And we catch ourselves in that every day, every year on a home buyer, right? You're always kind of waiting for that perfect time, but always when looking back, it was the right time.
It's that old saying of the best time to plant a tree was, in this case, 15 years ago.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Now, the thing that isn't creeping as quickly as much as we would like to is that inventory. Yet the good news is it is slowly creeping up and moving into the right direction.
So then we look at inventory, and here we go. It's a slow climb, but we need it to climb, okay? And it is climbing, by the way. New listings. Here we go. What's informative, again, is the trend. What's informative is to look at January 23, then look at January of 24, and then look at January 25. And again, those tend to be the floors other than in December or November. They tend to be the floors for that year.
Right.
So we look up and we go, so this will be the floor, and it's going to go up.
Yes.
Inventory is going to be rising.
Yeah, and you would anticipate historically that would be anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000, 150,000 probably,
Well,
in that range more.
It goes to show there's going to be more listings. So you have to be more focused on listing lead generation.
There will be more.
When you take them, there's going to be more price drops, which means you have to be wildly focused on communicating with your sellers rapidly.
So we ended 2024 with inventory at about 3.7, which means it would take about 3.7 months on average for the current inventory to all be sold, right? We like this number to be about 6. So while yes, we are still below where we want to be, it has increased every year over the last few years. So I think we are moving in the right direction on an inventory side.
Yes, we are. And the challenge for those first-time home buyers that are desiring to enter the market will remain that, you know, homes are tough for them to come by. We have that where we're seeing the low inventory is specifically in the range for those who are first-time home buyers. In fact, wasn't it interesting that Gary mentioned that the average first-time home buyer now is 38 years old?
It's been tough, right? But as we're kind of seeing with the inventory, as those levels are rising, affordability is going to be getting a little bit better, right? Prices coming down, and I think a lot of people are going to be wanting to buy.
24% of those home buyers last year were first-time home buyers, and we like to see that number closer to 30%. So there has been a halt on those who are willing to get in because of that lack of affordability or that perception thereof.
It also has to do with interest rates, right? It's not just the home price, but the interest rate driving what your mortgage payment will be each month. It makes things tough, right? So people have been a little bit on the sidelines, but we think people are getting back on the field. Gary's not bothered by the current environment that we're in, right? There's going to be different economic factors that push and pull the real estate economy over the next few years, but ultimately he thinks that it will result in a net increase in transactions. So what do we need to do? Know the market, be able to educate your clients, and be informed.
That's exactly right. Real estate is still a contact sport, and more than ever, do we need to make sure that our consumers continue to understand the perspective, understand what it means for them, and what the options are going to be to hack those interest rates or to find properties that make sense given their real estate and investment goals now. 2025 is going to be a great year for those who are willing to put in the work. So take one of those slides, practice, Practice until you can't get it wrong, and then get out there, find a client that is willing to work with you to find a great appreciating asset in 2025.
Right. Be that first agent that the client meets, right?
That first agent indeed. Thank you for being our special guest today, Nick. And thank you for making math cool. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to click like and subscribe to our channel. I'm Gabi Brennesholtz, your co-host. We'll see you next month.